Okay, hi guys, my name's Max. I'm going to be presenting a presentation on Mijoshop, which is a e-commerce plugin for Joomla that is produced by these guys, Mijoshop, who are also up the top here as one of the gold sponsors for our conference. The reason I'm doing the presentation for them, actually, this one here. Okay. First off, a little bit about why you'd actually listen to me about what type of e-commerce application you're going to use and whether I know anything about Joomla is because before we got back into doing websites for other people a couple of years ago, we actually had our own brick and mortar business of quite a reasonable size, and we had e-commerce in as one of the major distribution models for how we sold stuff and marketed our business online. And so apart from actually doing the development work ourselves and implementing the e-commerce systems and the marketing and so forth, we also actually had to run the web shop and do all the packaging and the distribution, invoicing, syncing up with our accounting packages and distribution carriers and everything like that. So we've had a lot of background actually in operating e-commerce stores as well as developing them. And what Mijoshop is a shopping cart that we can use and utilize within Joomla, and it's, as far as the functionality and the usability of it, I think it's actually the best option that's available for us to be able to use within Joomla, and it's something that's actually going to be functional and not kill a business like some other software packages that are just too big for most SMEs in Australia. They just won't be able to cope with it. And the reason I'm here presenting this on behalf of Mijoshop, apart from the fact that they're on the other side of the world and they couldn't get here, is because the guys at Mijoshop are absolutely awesome, and most of it goes back to this guy here, Dennis, who started first developing it only a little bit over a year ago, which was first called AL Shop. Then he moved in with another company for a little while to try and get better support and so forth. And then that didn't quite work for him. So he thought, well, what I'm going to do, I'm going to go out and I'll start my own thing so that I can properly do the development and support of my product. And when he did that and started up his own business doing it, he had a whole heap of other people that jumped on board with him. And so basically right from the start, he's got a whole heap of absolutely awesome developers and support people with him, as well as his wife up here who does the office stuff, and they're just really great guys and do everything right as far as I can see for supporting the open source community, sponsoring here. They're sponsoring a heap of Joomla days all over the world at the moment, and their support and what they try and do for everyone who's using their products is right on cue with the best that the Joomla community has. And the reason it is Mijoshop, just so everyone knows the actual right way to say it and can remember it, up the top here, like you can see, it's Mighty Joomla Software. So that should help you remember how to say it. Where are we? Okay, one of the important things to probably think about is why you actually need a CMS to run an online shop. Why can't you just install software that runs an online shop? And the main reason for that is for marketing and actually getting success online. The CMS allows you to have great marketing, great content, and Joomla, of course, being fairly awesome, allows you to have a whole heap of extra functionality so that you can look after your clients, build a relationship with them and nurture that relationship with them. One of the, I can't remember who it is, but a famous university lecturer back at the start of the 20th century said you are not selling a drill, you're selling a hole. So what you're actually selling is the outcome for people. You're not selling the product itself. So a lot of the time when people are searching for stuff or people are wanting to find out information about how to do things, what they're actually doing is trying to find a solution to a problem. Having a store that just lists a drill doesn't actually make it easy for people to find what they're actually after in a search engine. What they're going to be searching for is the end product and the end outcome that they want. And so and also the changes to the Google search engines last year with the Penguin update and so forth. You can't just have a lot of links coming in that don't mean a lot of things. You actually have to go out and look after your customers and give them that extra bit of information, have the blogs on there with the information, instructional videos, all of that sort of stuff. And having a CMS on there, and in our case, Joomla, allows you to do that and still have all of that stuff, all of the functionality of the e-commerce in there. And what Mijoshop does, it actually uses an e-commerce program called OpenCart. So it's not something that's developed for Joomla, as in OpenCart itself. OpenCart is its own open source project that is similar in Joomla in the way that it operates. From the e-commerce systems that are out there, OpenCart has all the functionality that's required for running proper e-commerce stores. Of course, we all think Joomla is pretty awesome, so because we're here, and so that's a great thing that we've got there. OpenCart has its own extensions directory. There's over 6,000 OpenCart extensions out there, and dedicated OpenCart developers. Most of the developers out there now that are developing for OpenCart and are actually active and are doing good extensions, they're aware of the fact that Mijoshop is now there. Out of all the 6,000 extensions and so forth, or all the extensions that you're going to use, you're going to have 99% of the time you can just plug and play and there's not going to be any issues. If there is any issue with the extensions for Mijoshop, you just have a chat to the developers and they're aware of the fact that Mijoshop's out there now and they'll get it up and going straight away. It's a good community similar to the Joomla developer community, so they're open to suggestions and they get things fixed pretty quickly. So that's the OpenCart store. So if you're wanting to look for extensions and so forth, you can go in here. They've got their own extensions area. The support area with the forum in here is actually quite useful as well, because 99% of the time, what works in OpenCart for a fix or a customization or doing whatever you need to do, that will also work quite well. It's a bit like Joomla. There's so many extensions, sometimes you don't know what to do with them all, but generally you can get this to do pretty much everything that you need. Mijoshop itself is almost plug and play. There's a little bit of setup like you have to do in any type of application to get it working exactly the way you want it to, but it is a plug and play type system. As you can see from this sign screen here, it has a not dissimilar interface to what people would be used to with Joomla, and the back-end system is easy for people to use. There's front-end editing and everything like that as well, so people, when they're logged in, they can actually browse to a product on their store and they can edit it and update the details there as well as doing it from the back end. The SEO on it is really good as well. If the SEO on your Joomla website works and is doing well, the SEO on Mijoshop will pick all of that up and run with the same sort of structure and the same SEO that you're running for the rest of the Joomla website. There's a plugin component that Mijo have called Mijoshop, not a dissimilar type thing to SH404. And it works really well and actually does a lot of your meta tag generation and stuff for you as well if you're wanting it to. It's totally unlimited in the way that it's distributed. So there's no limitation, there's no different grades of products, there's no gold packages or anything like that. The only thing that you're paying for with these guys, apart from getting the software, is support. It's like $49 for 6 months, and the support's really, really good. And then apart from that, you get everything regardless of what your subscription is, and you get to use it totally unlimited throughout the period of time. Obviously just installs as a regular component on your Joomla. Has fast page loads, developed with MVC, the same as the rest of Joomla. When you're going in and looking at any of your code, having to edit templates, having to edit functions, everything like that, it's going to be a very similar structure in the files and the way that it works. And it's secure. Let's see, what have they been on? They've been on the JED for not very long at all. They're doing very, very well as far as their rankings go. If you look at any of the discussions on LinkedIn and so forth in the Joomla community about what people are using for e-commerce and stuff now, these guys are kicking it. They're doing really, really well. And whenever there's a problem, you can basically say, oh, I've got a bit of an issue with something. Not that I've seen one for quite a while, but when they were first developing it, there'd be a bit of an issue and you say, oh, it's not quite working right, and within 12 hours there'd be a fix and a new version out. Yeah, like I said, the guys are great. They know exactly what they're doing. They've got a number of components and so forth. Very easy to use, heaps of extensions, self-hosted, and yeah, they've been doing really well with people using it. Is really cheap. Now on to a bit more of the nitty-gritty. They've got a new version 1.4 that's coming out. Is that too small to read, or is it okay? Yeah. Okay, so they've got quite a fast iteration of versions of Mijoshop coming out. So their development cycle is quite fast, which means they're adding a lot of extra functionality, and if there's any problems, they're fixing it up quickly. And so this 1.4 version that they've got here, they've added in a heap of extra functionality that makes everyone's life really, really easy, and some extra modules and other bits and pieces that people have been asking me about are all in this new version. It's 2.5 and 3 compatible as well. I don't think it works with 1.5. There's a new dedicated little mini cart module that's now come out, which you can insert all of the content and so forth that's in Mijoshop. You can stick it all in as into all of your Joomla template areas. So it works exactly the same way as any other normal sort of Joomla module. And so you can stick it in basically everywhere, especially if you're using something like Modules Anywhere from Peter. You can assign your module to a new position and then have that show up wherever you're wanting it to. A new thing that's coming out that they haven't had before is product filtering, so you can refine searches. So we've got some websites online and so forth, and this is something that's been in products like Magento and stuff. We've got like your filtering and so forth. Apart from browsing through a category, you can have a filter and it'll only start filtering on those things. It's come in as a new functionality on this current version of Mijoshop. They've got a editor button that goes into JCE or your normal editor that you can see down the bottom there. It's Mijoshop, and that allows you to add your products into any articles or other bits and pieces that you want, and it has a whole heap of options of what you do show and what you don't show, so you don't even have to put any code in, you just press a button and stick it in. in the back end on the products and so forth. Has anyone here used OpenCart before? Yeah, and Mijoshop? Yeah, well, at least there's a few of us that will recognise these admin screens. This bottom area here, basically below there, looks like an OpenCart install. Almost no difference whatsoever. However, these guys have gone in and they've started putting in extra tabs here under integration. And what they're starting to add in is built-in integration and plugins that work with any product that you're selling throughout the store or any product that you've got listed in your catalogue. Two of the ones that they've got here that are coming out with this current version and are just included for free is your ACL and also Akiba subscriptions. So one of the things that OpenCart doesn't do, and has been a little bit of an issue for me, has been the fact that you're unable to sell subscriptions and recurring billing through OpenCart and therefore Mijoshop. So what these guys have done, they've added in the Akiba subscriptions and also the ACL, and you can see you can add and remove people based to ACL and Akiba subscriptions levels based on the product, on a per product basis. So which allows you a huge amount of functionality through the store. A couple of sites that I'll show you that are using Mijosoft. Over here, these are this one's built actually by the guys from Savvy Panda. If anyone was in my workshop the other day, you'd know them. But as you can see here, it's got your normal store and so forth that you'd expect to see in any sort of normal sort of e-commerce store. You've got your add to cart and your categories where you could go in and see the other bits and pieces. But because it's in Joomla, of course, you've got a whole heap of extra information that you can start adding in, like your recipes, news, events, and a whole heap of other stuff. Yes, depending on what you're running. Whether it's integrating with newsletters. Basically, I've written one plugin which automatically adds people into, MailChimp. So that instead of going into, it's got like most e-commerce systems, it's got its own little mailer type program. And most of the mailer programs that come with e-commerce programs are pretty crap. Which means you're using something else. I've written a plugin that automatically takes people over to MailChimp when they sign up going through the checkout. And of course you can add in stuff like e-commerce 360 and analytics and Google Analytics and stuff like that. But what we're actually using is AC mailing on a more than MailChimp. Basically, because this installs into the Joomla database, it just adds new tables into the database. It doesn't install a separate database. And because AC mailing, you can actually filter and distribute newsletters based on any field in a Joomla table. It means that you can create arguments in there that's saying if someone's bought a product from this category during this time period and they haven't visited back at the store, because then you can jump over to a Joomla field and see when their last login is, you can automatically then send them off newsletters or add them to campaigns and so forth. And I find that way more flexible than anything I can get through MailChimp. The enterprise version, yeah, it's not in the free version. Yeah. What was that, sorry? It'll grab products into the newsletters as well. So it also has the ability to put those products and images and so forth in based on the product that they'd purchased previously, if that makes sense. So like the product that you're promoting, it'll stick that into the newsletter that's going off, depending on what the filter is. Yeah, really sort of works quite well. At the moment, it's only using sort of native AC Mailing Enterprise functionality. There isn't a specific plugin written just for AC Mailing with Mijoshop, but that's something that we're sort of looking at to make it sort of a bit easier. Instead of having to actually pull data, that actually you just go, this product, that thing, spit it out. Yeah. 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 No, something that easy doesn't exist. You actually have to identify it from a database table as opposed to a category or a product. Just a sort of different way of looking at it. Gives you the same result, but it's not just a single click type thing in. But the content plugin that Mijoshop has with Joomla, you can stick like a squiggly sorcerer type field with a product number, and it'll insert the product number in a similar way to the where were we? Oops. In a similar way to what this button does here, it basically is just inserting a bit of code where it's inserting it into the article. And so that little bit of code, you just have product and then the ID in the same way that you do in your normal Joomla stuff, and you can put that in the newsletter. But that's only doing there. It's not sort of pulling the data out of the database dependent on another argument somewhere else. It's sort of a semi-hard-coded type thing. This is another one. You can see it's the same sort of thing. What it's doing, it's adding the extra functionality of having the About Us, your blogs, your information, all the other stuff, and being able to stick in whatever you want around the website. Here, informational type website with About Us, Go Natural, Why Natural, allows you to cross-promote back into your store and so forth. Whereas the CMS type functionality in a lot of stores, if you're just running it straight through the e-commerce software, is just sort of not really up to scratch. This one's Norm's. It's still under development, but it's one that he's been doing. You can see he's had to go up and custom code all the view cart and stuff up there because the mini cart wasn't out yet. but it's there now. I think this was the one we were looking at the other day, where it's got the different options with the images and so forth, different categories over here, extra information and so forth that you can see that you expect to be in a normal cart, options and so forth, different changes in your prices. Here's another one where you can see they've got a web store link, but the rest of the site's actually the rest of their site. They've got a trade area as well. Now the trade area is using some of the functionality that's in OpenCart and Mijoshop, which allows you to have customer groups with different pricing levels and different rules applied to them. And because of the way Mijoshop's set up now, that also means that you can assign customer groups to ACL groups and all that sort of stuff as well. Florist shops. Yep. You've got different customer groups. So you can have different customer groups can be assigned different ACL groups. So if you've got wholesalers, they can, once they log into your website, not only do they see a different lot of prices and different options and different whatever you set in your store, they'll also be able to see different information on your Joomla website because they're on a different ACL level. Well, you could, yeah. Yeah, it adds a lot of extra functionality in. Web store. So like a rewards type thing if you spend a certain amount of money over a period of time. I haven't done it, but with 6,000 OpenCart extensions, I'm pretty confident you're going to find one that pretty much does what you want. Yeah. Yes. Reward points and loyalty points are built in from scratch. They're already there. The default without any plugin type feature list is a bit nuts. And it all works with no bugs, no hacks, no having to write code. It just works. And if you go onto the Mijoshop, there's a whole heap of stuff here. And then if we go over to here, the feature list, you can see, well, here's the default feature list without them really going into any great amount of detail. Got the support for Australian payment gateways and shipping methods is actually really good. There's a free Australia Post plugin that you can grab, and it's just an install and putting in which type of Australia Post services you want to use, what your starting postcode is, and then enable it, and it does it all for you. Obviously, you have to have weights and dimensions added to all your products and stuff like that, like you normally would, but yeah, that works really well. Compared to already installed, you mean? Or yeah. We'll have a look. I'm going to run you through an install in a few minutes, and we'll have a quick look at what's installed.
Gateways are separate to the engine, so therefore the payment gateways aren't dependent upon conversion.
No. Yeah. Look, I don't know how many payment gateways are available, but I haven't found one that we'd use that's not available. There's PayPal, PayMate, 2Checkout, eWay, that new one from the UK that's coming out, I can't remember what it's called, Braintree or something. Almost everything that you'd get in, something like WHMCS or that's available in Zencar, iOS Commerce, Magento, you've got almost the same sort of choice as you do in those. And you've got all of your Star Trek Express, your what's your other Australian gateways, other Australian things? Let's have a look. What's this going to tell me?
Do you know how the update working? When OpenCart has the update version, so we can update Microsoft with that version of OpenCart, or we should wait for Microsoft to release the new version?
No, you wait for Mijoshop, and there's a good reason for that. They're releasing almost earlier than OpenCart does. The version of OpenCart that we're going to install in a minute through Mijoshop is not actually out. Yeah, well, it's just OpenCart in Joomla. It's just the developer is really, really smart how he sort of stuck it all in. But your overrides in your code and so forth that you change in OpenCart, you do that in the OpenCart directory, and it's got its normal templates directory and so forth, and your normal override rules and everything for developing custom stuff. Comes with VQMod already installed for anyone that knows VQMod, so it can inject and override core functionality without having to touch files, which is sort of quite useful. And it's really been doing fairly well. One of the great figures that I think sort of shows how well OpenCart's doing is that in the last few years you've got OS Commerce to Magento is the biggest e-commerce migration from like a legacy system into like a new system. After that, you've got VirtueCart to Magento. After that, you've got ZenCart to Magento. Then you've got people going, oh, that was the wrong choice. You've got Magento to ZenCart. I don't have any idea what the find is. But then you've got Magento to OpenCart as well that's coming up. With OpenCart being a very, very young system compared to all of these other ones, it's actually starting to get a pretty good share, and the people who've switched to Magento from the other legacy systems are all starting to move over towards OpenCart. And you can see also, where are they? There we go. And you can see OpenCart here has been down fairly low because it is a new system, but is starting to actually gather up and gain momentum quite quickly. And so it's been, I think it's a pretty good choice that they've made with going with the OpenCart to stick into Joomla.
Max, it also got voted second in the world for OpenCart, open source e-commerce platforms in the Pack Pub.
Yeah, they got number 2 for OpenCart in the Pack Pub. Yeah. What was number 1? Really? Yeah.
Max, there's only 568 payment gateways.
Bugger. It might not cover it. and we don't suffer in Australia with those. It's not like they're all overseas. There's quite good support for the Australian payment gateways and shipping methods. It's really pretty impressive. Okay, let's go make sure that I've covered all the slides they've given me. They gave me the slides to cover. Dennis came up with the slides for me, so I've been going through those. Okay, so Mijoshop install and setup. How fast can we go? Okay, hang on a sec. Now, you know, usually when you're setting up e-commerce stuff on websites, it can be fairly painful. This is a base install that you can see here of Joomla 3. And there's absolutely nothing in it as far as components or anything else. It's just a base Joomla install. Okay, you got 2 things that ship, which is your main Mijoshop component and the jQuery plugin that they use. One of them's for 2.5 and one of them's for 3. This is on a live server, this is not local. So this is what it would be like when you're installing somewhere else. As long as the internet is working well. Okay, comes up, installed successfully, and it's saying I haven't installed the Mijoshop jQuery plugin, which is correct. What it comes in as, it's got the main component that's installed, you've got a number of modules that come in straight away, and a number of plugins that come in straight away as well. We're going to go down and choose our jQuery. I'm working on Joomla 3. Okay, says the plugin's there, don't forget to publish it. So it's fairly good at telling us what we're actually doing. And we go down here, and the reason it doesn't enable it by default is so that you don't crash the rest of your site in case there's some sort of conflict in there, in the same way that most components using these things don't. Okay, that's in, plugin successful. Under here, I now have Mijoshop there, and if I go back over here, I've got a client dashboard that's got the stuff in here, and obviously my screen's not big enough to take it all in. We'll go over to our dashboard here, and our next thing saying error, you have not synchronized your Joomla users with Mijoshop yet. because what it's doing is allowing us to have our shop customer profiles matched up with our Joomla customer profiles, and it cross-links them across so that we can keep track of where everyone is and what they're doing. As far as the versions are concerned, just while we're on this screen, you can see here, it says, welcome to Mijoshop. Oops, your version isn't released yet. Because this is coming out sort of very shortly. The latest version is 1.34. You can see up here I've actually got 1.4 released, and our OpenCart version is 1.55. OpenCart's currently at 1.54. So you don't have to wait for Mijoshop to release the latest version. They're sort of well ahead of the curve on most of it. But they probably won't release the 1.55 version until OpenCart does, just out of sort of respect for the fact that they haven't released it yet. Our user synchronization is a one-click at the start, and now it's done. Under your options up here, once you've purchased it, you can stick your purchase and personal ID up here, and you've got a one-click update at any point in time in the future. You've got a few other options in here as well. And one of them here is button CSS class, where you can see is button primary, okay? And it's automatically inserted that as the default button for the new Bootstrap template that's in here. So it's picked that up nicely for us. And if you had Mijoshop, which is the Ceph extension, you can get that turned on, and I'll turn that off because we're not using it. You can also set your permissions for the components as well. So you can have your normal people having access, even admin access into the back end, and you can set different permissions and ACL for Mijoshop too, so that people can't go in and do bad things. I'm talking too much. Okay. There's no menu item there for it at the moment, so I'll stick a new one in. You can see here, Mijoshop's new area of links. These are all the menu items that you can add into anywhere on your website, all the way through there. So you get a few options. You can stick our home in here. I'm reading the line above it. Okay, there we go. Go back over here. See, it's added in. Here's your shop. And there it comes up, has a couple of demo products loaded. It's all ready to go. Why is it not letting me? And so, as you can see, it's working in here already with your Bootstrap templates. And you can see it's already working fairly nicely with your responsive design, and this is from a base install with doing absolutely nothing. It's a demo product. The what, sorry? Yeah, you've got, as far as your payment options and so forth are concerned, you've got a whole heap of those, and we'll just have a look and see what we've got as default. Thank you. That's working. Okay, I'll just go to the dashboard. And so what were we looking at? Payment options. Here we go. Under extensions, you've got your different modules for around the place. One is shipping, one of them payment. What comes in automatically is these ones. So You've got your bank transfer, you've got your check and money order, cash on delivery, free checkout. You can also go, in the new version of Mijoshop, the normal language overrides for Joomla actually also override the OpenCart and Mijoshop stuff as well. So if you're wanting to change the names or anything else that's on there, you can use all of that stuff. It's got all your different PayPal things and whatever else that's in here. So you can just put, if you want to, you'd probably just use bank transfer or something like that and rename it.
Can you specify different shipping prices for different products?
Yeah, well, under your shipping extensions, it works basically like most of your e-commerce stuff, in that you can, your different prices are going to be determined on your weights and so forth, and one of them is a table rates type matrix as well. Under the products themselves, under the products themselves, you've got, let's take that out across. Where is it? I think it's under, no, data. You've got whether it requires shipping or not, and then you've got this type of stuff here that determines like the size and the weight and everything else like that. There is a plugin that allows you to, like an OpenCart plugin, that allows you to determine specific just shipping price for that product. And there's, yeah, sort of extensions that can do almost everything that you're sort of thinking of. Let's see, it is multi-store capable and multi-domain capable out of one install. It has plugins that allows vendors to log in and manage all of their own products and sell their own products. Part of the stuff in here allows you to have downloads associated with all the products as well, and which stores they're available in, which categories they belong to. Yes. It's just you just tick all the check boxes and they turn up wherever it is. And then, so it'll list up in the category, and then what it'll do, when you click on it, it'll go back to like the main product page, which will have its own URL, so you don't end up with any duplicate content issues.
And Max,
Yeah?
GST by default.
Yes. Yes. Adds it up properly, which is actually not always happening with e-commerce products out there as well.
Correct.
Yes. Yeah. So as far as us using it in Australia, it's actually really easy. All you have to do, there's with the setup for Australia, and the instructions and stuff on their website is absolutely awesome. But when you first set it up, you've got your settings. You go and set up all your stuff for your store and where you are and all of that sort of stuff. And then you run through the localization, which if any of you have done e-commerce stuff beforehand, you're just setting up your geo zones, your countries, your taxes and stuff like that. Get it to say what you want it to, and add your products, and you're done. Has CSV import, export. Automatically generates all your thumbnails and stuff, as many images as you want, lightbox pop-ups by default. Yeah, it's really very easy, and it has a all-in-one module as well. So it has one module, but it does like 30 different functions. So you just say, I want it to do this, want it to do that, and so your little card over here and your thing down the bottom, or your product over there, it's all just like one module that you can stick in anywhere you want, and style and do whatever you want. Any other questions? What responsive template? That's ProStar. That's ProStar there. And so, what type of responsiveness did you want?
We have a client who would like off the top of my head, a carousel rotation of all his
has an image carousel that goes along
Yeah.
with the products. They click on it, it pops up.
The product becomes large.
Yeah.
You buy it within this enlarged.
Yep. And it goes straight to the checkout.
Yeah, I think that's the plan. Yep.
Muck around with this for like 20, 30 minutes or so, it'll do it. Yeah, there's a carousel on there, but there's actually a couple of open card extensions that are almost exactly like that. And what it is, it's a product preview page, is what they call it. And so it's a product preview, it comes up, it's got the information there, it's got the add to cart, and then there's a plugin or an option, I think it's a plugin, that when you add it to the cart, it goes straight to the checkout.
Okay, so that's just the default template it comes with.
Yeah.
And it's responsive.
Yeah, you just need plugin for functionality. And it's responsive right from the word go. Yes.